Hi. Right, so I did one on magic and then forgot that I was going to do all about the master in that one as well. So I shall do master as a separate one because many magicians are seen as masters. So what is it to be a master, and how are we in the work trying to be a master of ourselves? Not necessarily go and be a master of a magician, though it would be nice to be able to learn how to do tricks and spells and master all that kind of thing. But really, we're here to master ourselves. So I'm going to start with a Henri Trecourt quote. The master is the awakener. The master awakens those who themselves wish to wake up. He rouses them from their sleep, awakens them to being, to reality, to life. So we have that master in us. Obviously, we have all these different eyes in us, as Gurdjieff talks about, all these different versions of ourselves. You know, for me, angry DJ, happy DJ, work DJ, family DJ, so on and on. We've all got them, but we need a master one to bring them all together. And when you first start doing this, it's known as deputy steward in the Gurdjieff work. But if we can master all that, then we can. That's what's going to be the master that leads us on our way to be awakened. You know, as Henri Trecourt was saying here, the master awakens those who themselves wish to wake up. So we've got to have that wish there already. We've got to want to do this. As I've said many times before, we have to have the need within us to do it. It just doesn't happen to anybody any old time, suddenly struck with enlightenment. Got to work on it. Buddha had to go out for years and work on himself to come to that middle way understanding. Um, we don't know what happened to the Christ, but I believe myself that in his first 30 years he was off to the mystery schools learning things, and maybe he did have that enlightenment of when John the Baptist did baptize him. The Holy Spirit did come down upon him because he'd worked himself into such a way of being able to be a body that could take on the Holy Spirit and carry it forward for the 3 next years of his life to pass on the Christ message, to be Christ consciousness. So he prepared his body for that. And, maybe that's what Buddha did, which is why when he was under the Bodhi tree, suddenly the enlightenment came to him, the realization, the mastery of himself. So, coming on with masters. So if Gurdjieff says in Views from the Real World, he who has a master has will. An ordinary man is ruled now by the mind, now by the feeling, now by the body. Very often he obeys orders coming from the automatic apparatus. So those are the sudden instances where it's just doing things without us kind of knowing consciously what we're doing. So very often he obeys orders coming from the automatic apparatus. 1,000 times more often he's ordered about by the sex center. Real free will can only be when one eye always directs, when one has a master for his team. An ordinary man has no master. The carriage constantly changes passengers, and each passenger calls himself I. So that's going back to, I've said it before in another show about the carriage, horse and carriage analogy that Gurdjieff uses. You've got the horse driving the carriage. The horse, many say, represents the emotions. The carriage is going round, so that's the physical body moving. And the guy driving the carriage is the intelligence, trying to direct the horse and the cart onwards, horse and carriage. But the real person is the one getting in, the passenger getting into that carriage. And we change passengers all the time, which is us. It's different versions of ourselves going in and out, depending on which eye you're using at that time. Work eye, your eye that you use when you're with your family and all that. But we need the master, is master of them all, to be driving that carriage, to be the passenger in that carriage, to instruct the driver where to go and to rein in the emotions and have control of them, and to direct the carriage, the physical body, as to what it's supposed to be doing and making sure it's working properly. So carrying on from Views from the Real World. Nevertheless, free will is a reality. It does exist, but as we are, cannot have it. A real man can have it. So we all think we've got free will. The divine source gave us free will to go willy-nilly about the world as we want with no interference, but it's whether how we use it. So most of the time we're just following our mechanical ways, and we've not got free will at all. We're just following everything else. Real free will come about when you master yourself. So in Search of the Miraculous, where Ouspensky's been talking about the carriage, he starts off saying about in order to be able to hear the master's voice, the driver must wake up, the intelligence. He must learn the language that the master speaks. His master tells him to go yonder, but he is unable to move because the horse has not been fed. It is not harnessed, and he does not know where the reins are. The horse is our emotions. They always pull the body after them, which is the carriage. So once you've got the real master going and sitting in that carriage, it will bring together the horse, the carriage, and the driver. Make sure the horse is fed, make sure the horse is shoed, make sure the carriage is well oiled so the wheels can go round and in good shape so that it doesn't fall apart as you're going along the rackety road, and that the driver knows where it's going, has full understandable instructions. So still doing In Search of the Miraculous. In one teaching, man is compared to a house in which there is a multitude of servants, but no master and no steward. Everyone tries to be master, if only for a moment. The only chance of salvation is for a group of the more sensible servants to meet together and elect a temporary deputy steward. This deputy can then make each servant do his own work. The house can be got ready for the arrival of the real steward, who will, in his turn, prepare it for the arrival of the master. So we've got to develop all these different versions of ourselves ready for when the master comes. But we need that deputy steward to bring all our different eyes together. They need to be controlled. And then the real steward comes, taking over from the deputy steward, and make sure the house is all in shape and ready. So the deputy steward's given everyone their little chores, and real steward's coming along and made sure that it's all happening, so that then the master can come in. It's like when the Dalai Lama goes visiting places, he's got his little people, well, not his little people, that's what I want to say, his the monks that work with him will go forward and make sure that the place is safe and ready for him, and in an honourable state for him, for His Holiness to enter. The Queen of England has her security that goes forward first to make sure the place is safe and ready for when she makes her grand entry. So we have to do the same for our own master, our own inner true master that's in ourselves that can come out. We need it to be ready and all our eyes in control so they don't go and screw up the process. Right, so back to the views from the real world. Only the fourth body completes all the development possible for man in the earthly conditions of his existence. It is immortal within the limits of the solar system. Real will belongs to this body. It is the real I, the soul of man, the master. It is the active principle in relation to the other bodies taken together. So we're trying to develop that real I in us, which is the real master, the master that's going to come along and guide us, or be us, be the real us. So it's not even going to guide us, that steward's going to guide us. Sorry, I'm getting things a bit muddled here. The steward's going to guide us ready for when the master comes, so that we know what we are doing. We have mastery of ourselves. This is what I wanted to read, actually, from Views from the Real World, what Ouspensky was saying about the house. So Gurdjieff saying, imagine a man as a flat with 4 rooms. The first room is our physical body and corresponds to the cart in another illustration I've given, the horse and cart. The second room is the emotional centre, or the horse. The third room, the intellectual centre, or the driver of the carriage. And the fourth room, the master. Every religion understands that the master is not there and seeks him. But a master can only be there when the whole flat is furnished. If a man is not rich, he furnishes every room separately, little by little. In order to furnish the fourth room, one must furnish the other 3. So we need to have our intelligence and our emotional and our physical centres all furnished, all ready, all prepared, working harmoniously, ready for the master to come in. You know, because Gurdjieff also said in another thing, in your room you cannot develop the master. That's in your usual everyday room. In your room 1, you can't do it just with your intelligence. You can't do it just your whole emotions in room 2, and you can't do it just with room 3 in the physical body. You need all 3 harmonized, ready for the 4th room. So this is from All and Everything. If certain people consciously set themselves as the chief aim of their existence to acquire in their presences all the corresponding data to become masters among those around them similar to themselves, affirming that in order to be in reality a just and good altruist, it is inevitably required, first of all, to be an out-and-out egoist, and also profiting by the good sense given us by great nature. Each one of us must set for his chief aim to become in the process of our collective life a master. In the sense that a given man, thanks to his, in the objective sense, devout acts towards those around him, that is to say, acts manifested by him according to the dictates of his pure reason alone, without the participation of influences from Kunda buffer, acquires in himself that something which of itself constrains all those about him to bow before him and with reverence carry out his orders. So we need that master to be, when it does get ushered in by the steward and all the other eyes have been quietened down and know their roles and know that, and they want to do this because they want the master to come in and show them how to live properly and be genuine and be real I. So we need to be prepared for that so that the master can be ushered in. And in Views from the Real World, Gurdjieff's talking about us in our everyday, day-to-day life. And he says, objectively, you cannot see yourselves for a single minute because it is a different function, the function of the master. So it's like that master's looking in, showing you what you are, who you are. But we want the master to come in and be us, be the real I. Right, I was just going to do another thing from the horse and car. I should have done this earlier, but anyway, horse and carriage. So this is from Views from the Real World. So the first is the shafts, the second is the reins, the third is the substance which permits the driver to hear the passenger. So we've got the passenger in the carriage, and that passenger is, you know, that different I every day. But we really want that master in there. We must understand the difference between a casual passenger and the master of the cart. I is the master if we have an I. If not, there is always someone sitting in the cart and giving orders to the driver. If the substance has accumulated, the passenger can give orders to the driver, but are they the right orders? Whereas the master will know what we need. As I was saying before, master will have the understanding of what genuine I is here to do and will direct the driver, who will direct the horse, who will pull the carriage along. So peoples, let's all be masters. And you know, I don't want to sound sexist, but I'm using master for men and women. We can be masters. Go forward and find the master in yourselves and take mastery of yourself so that you've got mastery of your life. Let's all be Jedis in this world. What's that saying? Be the Jedi you want to be. Live long and prosper. Oh, that's Star Trek. May the force be with you.